Welcome, travelers. Welcome back to Map Maven. As always, I am your cartographer, Ellen, and I am so excited to be with you today. We're going to be doing some back to basics in Dungeondraft, which I'll get into what that means in a second. But first, as always, we always have a couple programs that are going to be helping us out today. Today we have Dungeondraft, we have Roll20, we have Sirenscape, and all of those programs are all that it goes into making talking XP in our streams here possible. So Roll20 is the perfect online platform for sharing your content with players, showing your campaign content, sharing your rule books, all of that sort of stuff. Once you have Roll20, the only thing you're going to need is a little bit of audio ambiance to complete setting the mood, and that's where Sirenscape comes in. With one simple click, you can transition between different ambient soundscapes to different areas, completely transporting your players to a new environment. For example, with one click, we're going to go from this very busy dockside to the interior of the Map Maven cartography shop. Watch that. Oh, it's all fading away. Now we just hear the little papers. And all that was easy to build in Sirenscape. Outside of that, we will be using Dungeondraft today. Dungeondraft is not a sponsor, but I really love the program and you should check it out. It was, I believe, a $15 one-time purchase for the entire program. It comes with a bunch of free assets. It comes with a bunch of great tools and utility for you. It is a must-have, in my opinion, for a dungeon master on the go, having to put out a lot of stuff, which is what I am. So now that we have our tools in hand, let's go ahead and make some maps. So chime in on chat. If you want to say hi, I am always looking to say hi and spend time with people. If not, we're just gonna be here and I'm gonna make a little map on my own, but that's okay. So what I was saying about going back to basics is a few weeks ago, a while ago really, I made this road map, and I cannot tell you the amount of times I have used that road map in my games. I've had a couple times since we had that episode where I made that basic roadmap, where in the middle of a session, players would, as players do, somehow stumble into a combat on a roadside or in a random location that made sense to be on a road. And while the players were talking, I was able to let them talk while opening up that file in Dungeondraft, making a few simple changes to that roadmap, and then upload it to Roll20, and I was ready to go within like 10 minutes. And that's all because I had that basic roadmap. So I'm actually going to go ahead and open that roadmap now so we can take a look at it. Let me see the road. Because I can show you, because I still have them saved on this file. I just can show you all the different, here's one right here. This is like one variety of roadmap I made. We started with, this is the basic road. So this is nothing on here. This is literally just two different two different textures. I have like the basic grass texture and a road texture. And then I souped it up to a complex road, which is like a little bit raised, like ridges. It's got some different grass textures along the side. And basically I've used this base map here, this one, multiple different times to make a bunch of different roads. These are the three we made in the episode, which was like a bandit cave. And you'll see I expanded it on either side because I realized when I was needing it in game, I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. So I made it more square. Which is why there's these weird cutoffs on the top and bottom. But this is another one we made. Look how weird that looks because it's all cut off. But, you know, this is another one we made. But I've used this road a couple times. This is a new one I made. This is one I made, I think, like within 30 minutes of game time starting. I realized I was going to need a roadmap, and I was like, oh, I need a roadmap with a barricade on it. Let me quickly make one. And I use that same, and it's a thing of like, just having this to start from makes such a huge difference for being able to get a road out quickly. It's like, it's already got a decent amount of work on here. I just need to add like some trees and identifying markers on either side, and it looks enough like a road. So I have two things for myself today. One, I want to go back to this map and do a slight variation on it so that I can have like, essentially have a couple different intersections, literally just building intersections. So I'm going to have like a T intersection, a Y intersection, and then like, you know, a perfect like four-way stop intersection. because I think that'll be great for having like a couple more options to pull from really quickly. I also want to make a version of this that is a slightly wider road. So like this road is really only big enough for like one cart to go down, but I think it makes sense for me to have a couple roads that are like, you know, there's a you know, it's double wide. Two wagons could pass each other on this road without somebody having to like pull aside or wait. So I think I'm going to do that, which I don't think that's going to take very long. It's just going to be some adaptation of what I already have here. And then I also am going to challenge myself to make, I'm trying to think of what the must-have maps are going to be. Hi, hello, welcome new follower. I can't see your name because it's a little small from here, but welcome to the stream. Yeah, so I want to make a couple other basic maps and figure out how to make them as utilitarian as possible, because as we see on this roadmap, this is very basic, right? But because it's so basic, I can make this map work for anything. I can just add a couple trees and it's a completely different area. I can put a stream on the side, completely different road. So I want to figure out a way, like obviously a must-have in a D&D game is like a tavern. Everyone needs a tavern. There's gonna be a scene in a tavern that you randomly stop in. It's very likely your characters will be in like a tavern and randomly start a fight. And having a basic tavern set up that you can change a couple key details on and now is a different tavern would be so useful for me to have. So I want to, but of course a tavern is a lot more complicated than a road. So I'm interested to see how much of it I can make ahead of time so that there's less work for me to do in the moment, but also not too much work that the map is too specific and now I'm having to remove stuff to make it work. Do you see what I mean? So I'm looking at that. Also the idea of like a dungeon or a cave I think would be a really good one, because that's another thing is like, I feel like, oh, we're a cave diving. We're cave diving or dwell. I'm going to stop trying to say that. We're cave diving and they rolled a really bad stealth check. I didn't have an encounter map prepared for this because I wasn't expecting them to do this poorly this soon, but they rolled 3 natural ones. Of course they need to get attacked by something in this cave, and building some stuff for that. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I think it'll be a nice experiment in seeing how much we can design before we need to pull it back, or before we start getting in our own way. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be starting with the road. As I said, building like a couple different intersection shapes just to have them. And then moving on from the road, either doing the dungeon, seeing how I'm feeling, or the cave to see how I'm feeling, or doing like the tavern. I think the tavern will be a good one, because I feel like there'll be a really good way to like quickly set that up. I feel like there's going to be I don't know, because you want them to look different, right? If theoretically you might end up using this same map again, like the road map, I've used the road map for the same parties multiple times, or like I have players who have seen this map technically multiple times, but it's just had different overlays on it. And as of yet, I have not had somebody go, hey, isn't that map from last time? Which is a success. So I'm trying to see if I can do that. But first things first, it is driving me nuts that this road is not evenly split on top and bottom. So I think I'm going to do a couple things here. I'm going to go ahead and reproportion this slightly. I'm going to go ahead and add, because I want it to be wider than it is tall, because that just looks good. So I'm going to add 2 tiles on top, and I'm going to add 5 tiles on the side. What are the proportions of that? Let me turn on snapping so I can get it. 40 by 32. I think that's pretty good. Because 40 squares long? That's 40 times 5. That's 40 times 5. 200 feet. That's a pretty long distance. I mean, you're starting to get into a range where it's just long enough that some of your ranged weapons won't be able to reach from either side unless they're using their long range increment, which is good. Of course, we're talking D&D here. That's quite a bit of distance that players would need to cover in terms of, foot traffic. Like 200 feet is several turns worth of movement if you're using your action and your movement and everything to move. Like, you can only move like 60 feet around typically. So I think that's a pretty good, like, you can't get from one side of the map to the other. And since this is an outside encounter, or an outdoors encounter, it makes sense that there's a little bit more space. So I think I'm going to start with that. And now we're going to start editing this. Let's just quickly go ahead and drag this path over, edit points. So continue. Oop, what just happened there? Turn off snapping. Oh, I see. Because it's got the measuring tool on it. There we go. And there we go. Increasing these, these drag marks from these wayward carriages that have driven the road before. I like the idea of maybe this one. Doesn't need to be accurate. It's just a little bit of extra texture. Then we're going to go ahead and do some texture work. So we have our dirt. Let's make that smaller. There we go. Nice dirt road. And then it looks like we got some dry grass on the side. I'm going to lower the intensity because it is not so extreme. And then a little bit of rocky terrain on top. I'm going to pare that back down a little bit. Pare that back down, I mean. Okay, so that's already, we've extended that road a couple feet on the side. I kind of wish, maybe I will shrink it from the bottom just so it's like a little bit more proportional. Because there's so much room. This is getting a little out of hand in terms of size. So I might shrink it to like 30, because then it would be a nice like 30 by 40, and that's easy for me to remember, which matters when I'm like quickly trying to upload it to Roll20. I want to remember what the proportion of the map is. So let's go ahead and reduce -2 on the bottom. Great. Now that feels nice. It's not perfectly symmetrical, which I wouldn't want anyway. One thing that's also great about this map is, let's say you're in this environment and you're like, I really want this to be snowy all around it. I don't want it to be green. In Dungeondraft, you can take this, you can go here, hit the 9 squares, and then hit snow, and it will completely replace all of that grass texture. Maybe you don't want all of it to be snow, but maybe it's like the very end of winter and there's little mounds of snow along the road. You could go in here and replace dry grass with snow, and now there's little snow mounds along the side of the road that have yet to melt because it was really piled up. So that's a really great way to make this look very different. Of course, you could also take your dirt and maybe it's a limestone path, or maybe it's like a sand path. You want to imply you're in a different area of the world, so you're going to make it sandy instead of rocky, or sandy instead of dirt. But this, I think, is a very basic looking map. I think I would leave it at that, because any other texture, I mean, maybe, what else can I do to maybe like elevate this base map a little bit? I'll lower the intensity of this, make a really big brush size, and like maybe, is that really working? Is that doing anything? I want it to be a little bit, maybe like spreading in some dry grass texture throughout, so it's not just perfectly green. It's a little intense, but I will, just a little bit painterly when you try and do this. Go back through with this one. Erase it out. Just so there's a little bit more texture on that. I'm actually gonna, I like that effect. I'm gonna go through and kind of paint that in. Because again, if you did want to change it where it's like, no, it's all very lush green grass. You could just make both of these textures green grass, and then it'll just be all green grass, and you don't have to worry about that. Clicking it out, you can kind of see it making it a little more mottled. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and add back in some of that rock because it went away. I want to build this up. I think I can have a pretty low brush size, pretty high intensity. Not that high. Just sort of show it spreading out from the sides of the road. Maybe some of it's creeping up on the road. Because of course they would want to build, you know, a logical group of people presumably built this road, and they would most likely want the road to be built on the most stable ground, so they'd probably maybe dig down a little bit to some, not bedrock, but it's not going to be built on mud. And also that just helps integrate that mound we have, right, the ridge, helps elevate that too. Or not elevate it, it helps it blend in a little more, so there's not just this random ridge of rock in the middle of the grass. It's kind of, oh, maybe there's some rock built up underneath it. Again, that's just my thought on how I want this to look. You certainly don't need to use this exact technique for anything. The road a little bit in the same way that we kind of did with the forest, just lightly clicking through. And you can kind of look at it like primary grass, like primary textures and secondary textures. So obviously we have like the two primary textures, which is the green grass, which is like the main color is green. That's the overall impression you want to get, that it's mainly green. And then you have the secondary texture, which is the dry grass. So if you want to, it's kind of like the accent. So say you want it to be mainly green with an accent of snow, then you're going to go through and edit, you know, your accent color of the grass. Ooh, that's actually pretty snowy. So that kind of helps. If I go through with this, because I want it to be very light. Because there's a bit more contrast, it's actually a lot easier to see. Yeah, that's pretty good. Right, take some, a little bit more dirt there. There we go. Okay, so let's see what happens when we change it back to our dry grass. Yeah, it's just a nice little mottled texture. Again, we have the primary texture of the dirt. We have the secondary texture of the rock, so we could change it to gravel, which is going to give it a different look. And it looks kind of hard to see. Let me zoom in, actually. Oh, because the gravel is so light. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more of that in. Lightly tapping over top. And you obviously just kind of keep going back and forth until you get the balance that you want. But the one I like is the rocky terrain. Ooh, that looks actually really nice. Yeah, I kind of like that. I might go add like a little bit more dirt back in to get the balance quite how I like it. But I like that it's poking through like that. It really looks quite nice. Because the road would probably be built up with rock and dirt. It wouldn't just be dirt because that'd be too soft. Okay, so we now have this elevated complex road base that we can use at the drop of a hat. Great. Now I want to take the exact same thing and do a wide road. So I'm going to take this and take a layer. Wait, no, we're going to do this. Layers, where am I going? What am I doing? Level settings, create, new, wide. And we're going to clone this level. Okay, and now we're going to take this whole thing and just make it wider so that it's double, you know, maybe a main road that we're dealing with. What would be the easiest way to select this? Let's do, I think I can't really. I just don't want to select that bottom part. So if I take that, I really actually just want to select the bottom part here. And then, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's like a wide road. And then I'm going to go through and adjust my textures, obviously, as I have done before. So let's go ahead, make that a little smaller. Fill this thing in with dirt. Okay, now it's like, what, 30 feet wide? Let's look at her. Yeah, that's like just over 30 feet, almost 30, because 7 squares would be 35 feet wide, which I think is great. That's like feels like a proper main road, like 2 large carriages could pass on either side without too much issue. Great, we'll keep layering in our different terrains. Let me turn off that. That's much too strong. I need to decrease that intensity. Okay, and add that dry grass back in. It's a little too chunky over here, which I don't like. I think it just looks like too many. There we go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to add in a couple more of my drag path tools that look like big carts have been passing on the road. I'm going to make it, what size is this? Turn off edit points. Ooh, that's actually blood. I don't want that. That's not what I want. I want, oh wait, that is the one I want. Where is it? Okay, that's good. Undo. Let's go ahead and take it to real heavy. Let's put it at like a 2. So it's a real heavy, sorry for hitting my microphone. Let's put it there. Let's zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to take that whole path, because I'm being smart. I'm going to copy, paste it, boop, and then move it down. Cool, so now that looks like 2 different paths. Like, you know, this way, that way. A to and fro row, if you will. Great, so now I got the wide road. Already, see how quick that was? Now I'm gonna go ahead and build, I'm gonna go back to complex road. That's really satisfying to flick between them. I'm gonna do this again, but I'm gonna create some intersections. So this one's gonna take like a tiny bit longer because I'm going to have to adjust the paths a little bit more, but should still be a nice efficient thing to do here. So we're going to take level settings, we're going to create a new level, we're going to do, you know what we can actually do first? We're going to go to the farm And I'm going to use this to create a Y intersection. So I'm going to duplicate this. New level. Y. That's not right. We're going to duplicate clone level farm. Except I'm going to get rid of pretty much everything because I don't want any of these things. I want everything except for the paths. I want to select the lighting, the roofs. Yeah, that's all right. Okay. Because now I'm just going to go and delete all of these things because I don't need them. They're beautiful, but they're too specific because this is the sort of stuff I'd want to add on later. Well, you know what would be smart? To put on some basic lighting, because then I can at least put like the lighting nodes on so that I can change the colors. There we go. And then I don't want, what am I going to? I'm going to my filters all. Now I do want to get rid of this path. Because that was this, if you remember when we did this episode, it was an escape of a giant peach from the farm. And obviously we're not going to have a giant peach on every map. That does not seem like it would be applicable to most things. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Go ahead and edit these path tools. Edit points. Keep that going off that way. There we go. This one kind of went off the road. Oh no. I like that. I like that it like went off road and did a big swerve. Okay. I do think I want some that kind of bend around here. Gotta get these paths going off all the way. I like the idea of this one being a slightly, let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, that intersection's happening at like pretty much halfway in the page, halfway across the map, I should say. And the thing about this is like you can flip it. Obviously you can like rotate your map. So it's, you know, you can flip it 180. You can just flip it on the vertical. So it's, looks different. So you don't have to worry about like, oh, well, that Y is pretty distinctive. Well, you flip it around a couple times, it's not that distinctive. I'm going to add a couple more of these drag marks to show more stuff coming up. Oops. This path got a little thin, I feel like. Like that. Going off this way. And this we're going to add on some dragging. Ooh, I like the idea. It was one thicker one that's kind of coming up in this way. But be smart. Be smart. Don't need to do that. We can select it and duplicate it because then we have the exact same angle. Great. I'll do a couple thin ones on there too to add a little bit more texture. So let's put that back down at a 1. And we'll have it coming up this way. I think that's enough to be getting on with. Looks roadish, looks well used. I'll ahead and add in our, do our texture layering here. Oh, there we go. The intensity was just too low. Intrusive thought about things that don't yet matter with this map. I was thinking about how do I want to do like the T intersections, which does not matter yet, and I was trying to think if there's like an easier way to do it. I think I kind of just have to go for it. Going through and getting my textures going. Let's go ahead and put on some slightly different music so we're enjoying it. Let's go ahead and change into some lovely outdoor nature sounds. I'm having a good time. I love just painting little bits of stuff. Terrain. Want that all on the road here. Let's take that intensity down actually a bit. Let's zoom in. Why make our lives difficult? Why make us squint? making it look lumpy in the right way. We don't want it to look lumpy in a way that we're not wanting it to be. Okay, that looks pretty good. There we go. Y intersection. Took me 10 minutes, I think. Okay, now let's go ahead and make a T intersection. I feel like the easiest way to do this is actually going to be to duplicate the Y and then just bend stuff. I'm also wondering what way the T should be going across the screen. Like, do you want to see more of the T as it's like leading up, or more of the like to like the top of the T? I feel like I want to see more of the top of the T, because this is almost a T intersection on, if this, you know, that side is the top of the T. So I think I want to bend it so like it's splitting in the middle here. So let's do a duplicate layer, level sand, duplicate, T road, duplicate, Y road, accept. Okay, I don't know what's happening there. Now we're going to go ahead and start moving around our path tools. Edit points. Delete. Delete. I'm going to bring this up to like here. There we go. Just trying to delicately delete the ends of this road. I think a 20-foot road is a pretty decent size. I think that middle part would be a little bit, yeah, that, you know, it'd be a little bit wider as it's coming up to the big T. Yeah, I think that's a decent amount of space on either side. I'm trying to think if I want to like move it slightly closer. I think I do. I want to move it like back this way a little bit. I'll probably just take this whole road and shift it. Now I gotta redo my terrain. Let's go ahead and take all that and just brush size, intensity, fill it in. I want it to be more, even more T actually. I want it to be very square. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna move it. So this is almost like a right angle that it's intersecting. Come on, there we go. Wow, a very formal road, but it, you know, it makes sense. There would be some that are like this put together. It's pretty wide, but I mean, if it's an intersection, that makes sense that like there's gonna be a decent amount of carts coming here, passing each other. I'm gonna make this a little thinner. Cool. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and redo all my terrain, which is all messed up. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and get rid of these guys. Not that guy. I don't want to get rid of that guy. That was easy enough to just add these back in. I don't need to. Doesn't really save me much time to use the ones I've already got. Great, that looks like a huge T intersection. It's got like a decent amount of spacing on either side. It's not perfectly centered on the map, which would look a little unnatural in my opinion. Yeah, okay. Let's go back in with our terrain tool. Let's do our dry grass first. Painting over top. And then we're gonna go with this one. Let's lower that intensity. And then maybe fill in a little bit more. Let's do our rocky terrain then, around the sides. Go in with a little bit more of this. Cut down on how much rock there is, kind of peeking out around those corners. Put a little bit more rocky terrain back on the road. Bring that brush size down a little bit. Great, okay. Now I just need to put on my drag marks. So let's do some at 0.1. Or just 1 point, I guess. Font. Those. larger carts that have been going down the road. This one did like a bit of a swerve. Either some of I am very quiet. You are undeathly quiet. That's so odd. I have my volume up. Is this better? I've increased my volume more. I wasn't able to sneak. What were you sneaking about? Let me get rid of that. Let's redo that actually. Going here. Ooh, that was probably like a broken axle that person got there. Great. Okay, now that's another base map. We now have a T intersection. So we've got a basic road, we've got a wide road, we've got a Y-shaped intersection, and a T-shaped. It's a little better. I can keep creating that volume up. Is this better now? Is that better? I've got it even higher at this point. Thank you for letting me know. Got it here. Guess I can just amp up that volume. I don't know why it's been coming in quiet lately. I didn't think I adjusted any settings. Yeah, we got that. I think that's a pretty good shape. I'm trying to think if there's any other like basic road intersection. Oh, a four-way stop. That's what we needed. I'm definitely going to just duplicate this and then add on the fourth exit. Thank you for confirming the mic is better. I appreciate you telling me. Let's go ahead and create level. We're going to create X. And we're going to clone our T intersection. Okay, now I'm going to path tool, edit points. This one's just going to go this way. Okay, and I think I want to select this whole thing and shift it so it's pretty much centered. And we're going to move this one over too. Move this over. And I'm going to put in one more of these ridges. Oop, that is the wrong size. Undo. Let's put that at a, I think that's probably a size 1. Oh. If only I adjusted so to join my message. Dang. I see. So when you did the follow, I was too perspective. I caught you. I apologize, but you know, I got good eyes keeping track of things. I'm gonna try this at a 0.5 because it looks pretty. Let's zoom in here. Yeah, I guess that's a 0.5. I was going for a really small ridge when I built this. And let's just do it at like a. There we go. Off that way. Now I'm gonna adjust these. Make that a little bit thinner, I think. Bring that over here. Nope. There we go. Nice. Obviously I need to add more terrain on there, but I'm going to first go ahead and do my grass and all this stuff that obviously turned brown because I shifted my map over. Just go swipe through that. And back into my grass tool, filling in that dry grass. and do my rocky terrain on either side. I want to kind of replicate the pattern I did last time because I felt like that was really efficient, where I did rocky terrain before I did the dirt, and then I used the dry grass to texturize the rocky terrain on, or like minimize the rocky terrain on the sides. Ooh, need to shift this over. You have a level 4 Pathfinder character and a level 2, and you're thinking of starting over, but you're not sure. So you think you need a new character? Or, like, you're excited to play again, but you think you want to play with a different character is what it sounds like you're saying. I'm going to make that a little bit thinner. Gotta adjust my terrain now because I shifted my roads a little bit. Probably should have made that decision first. If you can hear my dog in the background being upset, it's because we have people coming over to the house. He's fine. He's just very you can be a little protective. You can just be a little protective sometimes, and that's okay. Then I think I did dirt next. Probably a little bit bigger. Just kind of scribbling in that dirt. Oh, so recalling them back to level 2. So like you're kind of restarting with the characters. Let me look at this again. You played your one game, now you're turning my level 4 Pathfinder character into level 2, and I think starting over. I'm not too sure. Wow, that's a lot of pets. I love having animals. I've always had animals growing up. We had 2 cats. The most pets we ever had at one time was just two dogs, or 2 dogs, 2 cats, I think. I'm not actually sure because I was really young when we had the cats. I'm not sure if we had 2 cats at the same time as having 2 dogs, or if we just had a dog and 2 cats at any given time. I'm gonna go ahead and shrink that down. Get rid of some of this. Get rid of it a little bit. A white German Shepherd. I have never heard of that before. I had a German Shepherd at one point growing up too, but he looked a little bit more normal. He was not, well, not in an insulting way, not normal, but a white German Shepherd. I've never heard of that before. Let's go ahead and add on some path tool to show that people drive this way. There we go. Maybe one more coming from here. Going that way, and then I'm going to take 0.2. I just realized I did that at half size, so it's probably a little bit extra small and doesn't need to be, but that's fine. There we go. With blonde accents. Aw, little goof. Lila sounds very sweet. So she was like mainly white, but with like maybe like orange, like yellow on the ears, or like the places where she would have had like lighter colors. I think that's pretty good. I kind of want to touch up my dry grass texture over here. Get rid of some of that rockiness. Make it look a little bit less planned out. Yeah. Yeah, okay, cool. I think that looks pretty good. trying to think if there's anything else I can do on these. So now I have a Y road, a T road, a X road, a wide, an extra like basic thin road, and then a wide road. I'm wondering if there's one thing that I might add that makes my life a little bit easier would be to like add on some foliage now, but I don't know how much I would want to do of that. I'll think about it. When she was a puppy, she was pure white and then she got blonde areas. Oh, that's cute. So it like sort of, that actually makes sense. I had an all white dog growing up. We called her Snow. She was very sweet. And as she got older, she started getting brown spots on like her ears and like her butt. And she was like a lab mix. She was a mutt, so we don't know exactly what it was. But that makes sense that like the skin or the fur color changes over time. I think what I will do is I'm going to add a little bit of grass around the sides, or just a little bit of foliage, but something that I think will be a nice thing is I'm going to use my scatter tool, and then I'm going to use my plants. Plant. Oh, I've already got it selected. Great. And I'm going to actually use these plants and I'm going to put them on layer 2. Because basically what I can do with these, because they're color changing, I can choose a color, and then let me check my theory is correct here. So if I make them like a really bright red, let's make them size, make them scale 2. No, let's make them 1.5 to scale 2. 1.5. Yeah, that's a good size. Then I can kind of, what does it look like if I do like that? It's a little bit too close together. I'll do those scale 1. Basically what I can do is I think select them in mass and change the color of them. So I can create kind of like little bunches of them along the road. Do I like this? Is this something I would want to do on the day? No, it's easier to delete. It's easier to delete things than add things, so I think it's okay. Go through and add some of these on. Get rid of this one or move it up that way, because now if I select this chunk, I can take the whole thing and I can say, well, I now want orange flowers, and now they have orange flowers, which is a great way to be able to like change the look of the road. So I think I'm going to add those on both sides. Can't wait to jump from my high places with my Pathfinder character. I took a feat that lets me treat it. I think it was falls from 25 feet, and if I didn't fall, let me treat, I think it falls from 25 feet. Oh, so as if you fall from 25 feet, you're basically just like safe. It's kind of like, so it's like a monk type ability where you can just like slow fall and it doesn't hurt you. Nice. Adding in some greenery. And this is just really nice and easy to do with my scatter tool. I'm not going to spread out too much from the side of the road, because again, I don't know what's going to be surrounding it. But I would probably have some sort of little foliage around. I don't even think I'm going to add on grass. 1 second, actually. Let me select off objects. I just want to select all of those guys I just added, and I want to move them to layer. I guess layer 2 makes sense. My gosh, the people who are coming in are thumping on the floor. I think that's good. And then I want to add, what was I going to do? I was going to add in, do I want to add the dry? See, I feel like if I do dry grass, that's like too much of a choice. But typically, even if it's like a forest, I tend to have like these little shrubs around because like, look at how I did, let me see, this one. Like I always tend to have little shrubs around. I always tend to have little grass around. So I feel like I would like to have grass around regardless. Those bushes I even did bigger on this map. Let me go back to my complex road. Oh, that's not the one. Which one was I working on? Was I working on my wide road? Yeah, I was working on the wide road. I feel like I want some grass around, but if I put it on layer 1, I guess I can do... this guy. And then I can change the rotation to just 0. Because what way is that facing? Can you zoom in? Yeah, that's facing the right way. Then I can just kind of scatter it, you know? I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. I'm gonna make it like 2 point. It's called Catfall. Cool. There's so many interesting feats in Pathfinder that you can like really make characters unique and create so much, like even with a million things all built on like technically the same build, you can get such interestingly different types of characters. Just kind of want to texturize it a little bit, just like that. Honestly, I think just doing like little swirls. And I think I'm going to go back in and add some more of those plants back in with the bushes. I'm going to put those on layer 2. And the reason I'm keeping these on separate layers is so that I can easily select them in different groups. Put that back down to, I'm going to put that to 2 and 2.5 because I do like the look of the slightly larger bushes. What'd you say? Oh, sure. It took me in the DM like 5 hours to make a level 4. Oh man. Was it your first time making the character, or did you just like, we're doing a lot of customization? Bunch these up a little bit so they clump a little bit more naturally. Because there's always little bits of bush and brush probably around, so it makes sense that there'd be yeah. I mean, Pathfinder is very different. Like, learning a whole new system, there's a lot of options. There really are. I mean, that's, I think, part of why D&D has been as successful as it is it strikes a really nice balance between storytelling and simplicity and customization, where, like, yeah, can you make a D&D character extremely customized? Yeah, absolutely. You can get real weird and specific and break all the build models, but you don't have to. You can keep it pretty simple and still create something in relatively short order. Whereas I really love Pathfinder. I like how customizable it is, but I do think the way it's designed lends itself to, you kind of have to dig into it to be able to build a character. You can't just take, you know, the bog standard, what's the best build for a fighter, and then have a decent character. Whereas like D&D, you literally will see in the book, we recommend doing this, like, and here's a really basic fighter build and you'll be happy with it and you don't have to worry about it. Which I think is kind of the advantage of that. Okay, so now we have all of this, which looks a little bit more chaotic, but that's okay. We're actually going to make it even more chaotic by going to a 3rd level here and adding in grass, but on layer, that should be layer 3. No, what am I doing? I want to select everything on layer 2. Layers. Layer 2, because that's where my bushes are. And I want to move those bushes to layer 3 for now. And then I'm going to take a layer 2, and then I'm going to put this dry grass on layer 2. You said, I am playing a tiefling, Kitsune, who doesn't know she's one. She's a 1. So early game, I'm going to be human for a while. Oh, interesting. I actually don't know what a Kitsune is. So feel free to tell me about that. I'm not super familiar with like the particular subraces of, or like heritages as they're called in Pathfinder. I'm not super familiar with all of them. So feel free to hit me up with that. So now I'm going to add in some dry grass. This is going to get a little confusing for a second. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm adding in the dry grass. I actually think I need to not do that because it's starting to do the thing where it's like jumping. Does not like that I'm doing it. Let's go ahead and layer this in along the road. So now basically, depending on the look I'm going for, I can go through and select everything on either layer 2 or layer 3 and delete all of the green grass or the dry grass. So for instance, I can take layer 2, I can select all of that, and I can, nobody panic, cut, delete it. Now I'm just gonna see that green grass there instead of the dry grass, and then I can undo it, it'll come back. And then I could do the same thing on the other layers. And it doesn't also necessarily look bad with both of them on there. So I can just leave it like that. That's a lot of texture around. Honestly, it might be a bit much. It kind of looks cluttered. I think I'm going to go through and delete some of these, delete some of these bushes. I think by getting, I'm just going to select them. And I think the problem is they're like too many of them. It's looking a bit cluttered. So if I take them and make them just larger, I think that might look a little bit better. I'll get rid of some of these. Shift them over. Oh, okay, that's why it's familiar. That's why it sounds familiar. I've heard about fox spirits before. I've read a couple like Japanese fairy tales that include kitsune. Yeah, I've read a couple really like couple Japanese myths that include kitsune. That's why that name sounded familiar. Okay, and then let's go ahead and move this up. I think I'm also going to select these ones around the road and make them bigger and delete some of them just because we don't need so many. That does look better, I think, with less of them. Okay, get rid of these small guys. Make that one a little bit bigger. I think, as I've said with like map making before, I think bold shapes better. Even though like most bushes aren't going to be 5 foot wide. That's a little bit excessive. It just looks better with the bigger boulder shape. Let's take this chunk and then make it like that and get rid of that one. Just selectively making some bigger, getting rid of some. Getting rid of these little ones here. Okay, I'm gonna go around the edges and delete anything because I feel like there's a lot of stuff around the sides. Delete. See how it's like popping up little bits that are hiding on the side here. And let me zoom in. And I'll move some of these back to the edge. So we want it to come right up to the edge. Otherwise it's going to look like, you know, it perfectly fits the size of our map, and that's not how the world would work. There would be stuff leading right up to the sides. Okay. I don't know if I love having the grass on here, honestly. I might get rid of the grass because it feels a little too distracting and it's making the map really heavy. So I'm going to just quickly go to level 1 and level 2 and filter, so I'm only grabbing objects so I don't grab my stuff, and I'm gonna get rid of those. Do I prefer that? Yeah, I think I do. I will say I think what I'm gonna do is kind of get rid of the stuff that's out here, because that's the stuff that's looking weird to me, is this stuff. I don't mind the stuff that's like right up against the road. And it will help a lot to get rid of this, because that's not what's that's kind of what's bogging it down, where there's too much. With your character Yuki in the early game, she's always going to access her tiefling and kitsune features. When she gets emotional, might start growing horns. Oh, that's cool. Which I assume is like how she starts to figure it out, is she's never, I assume maybe she's had like a, you know, a little bit more of like a repressed beginning, which is why she's never noticed like her emotions displaying her horns before. I think I can get rid of some of these now that I'm looking at it. Let me go layer 3. That feels a little cluttered. Cluttered. I think that's okay. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good now. So that I think I like. I'm going to go ahead and actually copy and paste all of this onto the other levels and shift stuff around to make it make sense. So let me go ahead and select all, but only the objects, of course. And we're going to copy this, copy, and we're going to go to our complex road and paste. Nice. Shift that whole thing over to like there. Great. And then I'm gonna select everything on this side of the road, move it up. Getting a little clustered over here, that's okay. There's a lot more space because the road is not as wide. Makes sense. Whoop. Didn't mean to shrink it. Here we go. Let me double check that I need no help. She was an orphan, classic, who never met her parents, okay. Despite that, she likely had a good backstory, only she got mad enough for her eyes to change color. Right, thaumaturgy. So like her stuff manifests as thaumaturgy. That's an interesting way to look at it. I love it when the mechanics match with like storytelling in the game. That's the best. I love when players think through their character design to include things like that, to like make it make sense with the world building, or even better, influence their backstory and character design based on what mechanics are available. I think that's like, yeah, get inspired. That's what that material is there for. What does thaumaturgy mean to your character? I think that got a little big. Just kind of want to shift it. It won't let me shift. Right there. And move that down. Okay. There we go. Cool. There we go. We've got it on that road. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste it onto my other roads and do some shifting. Oh, are those your other characters? Oh, sorry. Let me see. And she had since she was, I had these others when they said her, oh, she just like didn't believe them that it was happening. Because also thaumaturgy is pretty, like, it doesn't last necessarily a long time. Your other two characters, I believe, Milvia and Eureka. Go and shift this. Nice. And we're going to go ahead and start just shifting things around so they line up with the road. We're going to have to bend some of that. You know what we should do? We should zoom in. Let's take this whole chunk here and move that up here. Maybe we'll just get through some nice road building today, and I'm just going to be flush with roads for the foreseeable future. I will not be mad about that. Get some of this over here. Let's get this clump of flowers over that way. There we go. Nice. Okay, so we're going to have to go through and fill in some more plants here, because obviously things don't fit exactly the same way. I think we can shift all of these guys up. There. Shift these guys over. Nice. And then go ahead and add some more objects in. Gonna just add some objects in. Melvia is a tiefling. You love a tiefling, don't you? Tiefling monk. Named Question. Dating a NPC named Question. Okay. I'll be taking feats levels to gain benefits. Protect Question. Homebrew race of a Kitsune who might go 13 levels rogue, 6. Oh wow, so you really plan out ahead. Interesting. So you definitely plan out your leveling. I've never been a planner for my character leveling. I don't plan out my characters much ahead of time in the rare occasions where I'm playing like playing a character as opposed to being a DM. I prefer to just let the story kind of unravel. Yeah, unravel is the right word, even though it's a negative connotation, from the events that are going on. So, you know, like the one time I don't tend to multiclass very often, or at least I don't plan to multiclass. But one of the times I did, it was because I was playing a cleric that then, what do I want to say? Their god they were serving had like a demon or like a pseudo fiendish son that I ended up like protecting. So I started taking some levels in like warlock, to, you know, connect the mechanics to the plot that I was now more, you know, sort of working with a non-celestial entity. And I thought that was really nice. But I didn't necessarily, you know what I'm realizing? What level are all of these? Did I just put those on? Oh, I put them on level 2. Sweet. Let's go to this because I want to put these on level 1 while I'm thinking about it so I don't get confused. Planned for Yuko, and that's one valid option of like 7. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know that for some people that's like such a huge part of it is going through and like building the characters ahead of time. I mean, I think it's just because I'm such a like a DM through and through. I don't find myself wanting to do that. I don't find myself wanting to just go and like build character builds all day, which is, you know, I don't need to. I don't typically play characters like that. But I know some people, it's like the thing they love. And I find that so interesting that so many people can get different things out of the game. I'm going to go ahead and put on my rotation on this because I can have it rotate because it is the bush and not the grass. It just looks weird when the grass rotates. Okay. Got it. Let me connect that up there. Little bushes filling in around the road. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Let me zoom out. Yeah, that looks great. So that one, another road ready to go. I do want to add on some more of these around the sides. I gotta put that back down to 0, 0, and put those on level 1. I just want some like over here in the way it is on the upper side. And then put this one on layer 2. Got it. I also only enjoy matching story to mechanics. A critical skill feat because her allies keep getting knocked out. So she was able to auto-succeed stabilizing checks at level 13 up. Yeah, that's super helpful. Medicine checks. I feel like the medicine stuff doesn't get used a lot unless you really don't have a healer in your party. But if you don't have a healer in your party, my goodness, it helps a lot to have that available to you. Let's go ahead and just... I wonder if there's like a more efficient way to do this. Probably not. I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do it, and I don't see one. It's just sometimes maps are fiddly, but then because you do the work on the front end, you don't have to do it on the back end. It just works out. I'm trying to think which one would it be better to copy and paste? Ooh, copy and paste the Y road? I feel like it would be. Let me just go ahead and copy paste. Got all the layers suggests, you know, selected copy. And then T road. Paste. We're just gonna have to do some shifting to make that make sense, aren't we? Okay. We'll figure it out together as a team. So let's go ahead and grab this stuff and bring that down here, maybe turn it a little bit. Grab all turn it this way. Oop, undo. Undo. We're gonna fill stuff in as we see it. Has 10 charisma. Woo! Yeah, as a paladin, charisma is definitely their spellcasting score. I bet that is a bit tricky to deal with. That's it. Whenever I have players who are trying to build a character against the intended character build, like a which I'm not a min-maxer by any means, but whenever I do have a player who's like, I really want to play a non-optimized character, and like, it happens a lot with actually like new characters, or new players. I have this happen a lot where they're like, I want to play a non-optimized character, and I'm like, absolutely, understand that this is going to cause these scenarios to arise. If you are happy with that, Godspeed and good luck, enjoy yourself. But I think it's just a thing of like, sometimes new players don't realize what a big effect non-optimized play will have on their ability to do things in game. So I just always make it very clear to them, like, hey, just so you know, like, you can do this, but your character is like gonna struggle to do things well, which is fine, but just be aware. Oop, that's not what I wanted. I want to grab this. Put that there. Just taking chunks of plant life, making it fill in. Take all this. Nice. Okay, moving on up here. Continuing the process of slowly turning foliage until it looks right. Wow, we actually probably won't need too much extra going on here. Nice. Yuriko's background causes conflict with her class. It's so funny. Okay, so Far Traveler Rogue is a funny combination. So you were more going for like a build. You obviously seem to get enjoyment out of like a non-optimized build, which more power to you. I think if you can enjoy playing like something that's broken in that way, enjoy yourself. I feel like that gives you a lot of freedom to just like do nonsensical things that, you know, the game becomes a lot less about winning and more about enjoying yourself, which is not a bad thing. Because I feel like a lot of the time problems come up in D&D when the game becomes too much about winning the game, which is, you know, is that even possible? You know, it's not really a thing. Okay, I think I'm gonna just go ahead and delete some of this grass and then shift my bushes around to fill them in. Let me zoom out a little bit. Okay. Let me go back to selecting layer 3, bring all that down. Let me bring it like here. Okay, let me move you there. Whoop. It's just small enough that I can't get it. Okay. Just taking chunks of plants and moving them around so they don't look like straight lines of bushes. Nice. How's that looking? It looks pretty good. Happy with that. There's a little bit more over here than I feel like needs to be. Like, I feel like Some of this could go over here to help fill in. Nice, okay. There we go. Now that one's built, so that one's ready to go. So Yuriko often gets eyes from random townspeople due to looking, oh, I see, gets eyes like people are looking at her odd. She's from the world who got teleported to my, from my world, who got teleported to my DMs. And so I am stealthy person who draws attention. Interesting. So like she sticks out in a crowd, but is very accomplished at being unseen. So, but once she gets noticed, she's easy to remember. That's always a fun combination. I think it always also makes sense when that happens, because why else would a character need to be stealthy unless they draw attention? Copy. Let's paste this over here. X road. Paste. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get that as lined up as we can. Great. Let me see what happens when I bring some stuff in from the sides here. Oop, doesn't want to do it. I'll just leave that where it is. Nice. Obviously we don't want that to be there, so I'm just going to turn it and put it up here. Let's go ahead and move this whole clump a little bit, maybe this way. Great. And shift some of this around. I just want to add on some more grass to fill this in. Also a rogue who has scared of the dark. Oh, never once put us in a scene with darkness. You never had a scene with darkness in an entire campaign? That's pretty extraordinary, actually. I feel like darkness is an underutilized tool in D&D because so many characters have dark vision. So it's rarely actually an obstacle for the characters to deal with, like, oh, you know, we have a human in the party, they can't see. But, you know, it can be a really interesting tool if you play it right, where it's like, oh, we can't put on a light because that will alert people to our presence. But at the same time, if we don't have a light on, half our party can't see anything. I just feel like it doesn't get used very often. Because nobody really plays characters that can't see in the darkness. I don't know the last time I had somebody who's like, you know, those characters just aren't in fashion, I think. Because characters really do go in and out in fashion, and most of the characters, you know, most of the races in vogue right now have dark vision. Oh, I feel like all this needs to get shifted over a little bit. Nice. Nice. Let's zoom it on out. Yeah, that's great. And now if I wanted to change it to a different scene, I could select all of those bushes on that level. I can change the color so I can make it look white. I can make it look green so they're just like plain bushes. I can add on any trees I want onto a layer above. Amazing. So now I have, in the space of like an hour and a half, built so many different maps that will be so useful to me. I have this one. I've got my wide road. I've got my Y road, wide and Y. I've got my T road, and I've got my X road. So now I have a lot of great base maps I can be working from. Mass Effect 5e World. Okay, I was playing a melee focused rogue. Okay, but there was no reason to get into melee when I had a. Why? What does that even mean? If you were melee focused but had a sniper rifle, that makes no sense. Why would you? Why would you even have it? I assume melee based rogue would be like daggers focused, which is great. I love that aesthetic for a rogue. Just getting up in there, getting down and dirty. Okay, so we have this. I'm gonna go ahead and save this file. Saving. Let's see if it'll do it. My entire screen froze over here. It doesn't like, oh, no, I'm back. It doesn't like that I'm like saving a file. And I'm going to go ahead and build a new one. Let me just see again. I want to see how big this was. I like the proportion of this because it's a decent amount of shape on both sides. Let me snap it so I can see. I think it's like 30 by 40 if I remember what I ended up at. Yeah, 30 by 40 is a great size for a map because it's horizontal layout. When you display it on a map screen, it's going to work really well. So I've saved this. I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. I'm going to create it at the same 40 by 30. I'm not going to start with a map wizard. What do I want to do here? Because I could do... Oop, there we go. So we got our basic layout. So what I could do here is I could do the same sort of thing, but with like a cave setup where it's like just a basic portion of cave that's always, you know, or like a dungeon where it's like a big sprawling dungeon. I always have a hallway. I always have an intersection. I always have a whatever. So I always have like these things to like jump to a map, say if I'm in like some big sprawling dungeon. I'm thinking about my needs though, and I feel like what I need more than anything is some like a basic building, like a basic storefront, a basic tavern that like something that could be a storefront or a tavern that it's really easy to like adapt and change as I need. So I think that's what I want to try and do. I want to try and make a basic storefront that or a basic tavern building that like I can adapt and change based on like the specifics of it. But if I'm like, this is a pretty basic tavern, it's gonna have a standard footprint that I can adjust. I think I'm gonna start with the storefront. So what I'm thinking for this is also, let me see what you got here. All the subclass features again benefit when in melee, but I would deal less damage in melee, so I'd likely get swarmed if I went, yeah, I mean that, and rogues are not exactly built for getting hit a lot. They don't usually do well in those situations. Okay, now here's a question. If I build a building in the way people tend to build buildings, can I, you know, start with, let's just choose a basic like wooden wall and yeah, like this floor. Can I build it and then change it? So like if I go like this, can I edit points and then, I don't know, like change this to a new wall type? It doesn't seem like it wants to. What if I do it with a square? If I hit edit points. I think that did change it. Let's see if it'll change to this. So that is a disadvantage here because it would be great if I would be able to like quickly change out what the wall looked like. So maybe it's better. Let me do a little experimenting here. Let me do individual walls. Let me just build like a square in this basic wall type. Now let me say I want to change it to this and I want to edit points. No, it's not changing the wall type. So I need to choose like a wall. Let me think about this. You know what? I need to think about this for a minute. So I think I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break. We'll be back in 5 and we'll continue on with this. But I'm going to take a break, refill my water, and I'll be right back. So hang tight. We'll continue building our maps in a second. And I'll be right back. See you in a moment. I'm back. Hello. I said I'd be back. Here I am. Okay, so did a little brainstorming. What we're dealing with here is there's no quick way to change the color of walls and flooring. However, I think that's okay because what we can do is pick a pretty standard brown wall color, and we can duplicate it and rebuild it with stone walls if we want, so we have a couple basics to choose from. And if we really hate the color of the walls or the flooring in the version, when I'm doing a quick edit, it wouldn't take too much work to just delete the wall and replace it with a color wall that I prefer. I'm also wondering, let me actually check one more thing. So when I've got, let's just zoom in here and let's build a wall. All right, we got this nice little square. I've made it a very vibrant red. Oh, making your D&D world too complicated is a mistake all DMs have made. I love simple worlds because my rule of thumb is that if players are not, and anyone, it's really hard to learn information. Remember how long it took you to, or like most people took, or whoever, the average person, remember how long it takes them to learn world history or history of religion or world, the way like just the government they live within works. It takes a long time to learn that in the real world when you're experiencing it on a practical daily basis. And when I think about, American, given my accent, when I remember learning about U.S. government, I remember learning like there's 3 branches of the government: legislative, the other one, and the other one, which my brain is not thinking. I know them, I swear. I'm talking to the internet right now. It's hard to remember all of them. Legislative, executive, judicial. There, I got it. But when they try and make it, obviously that's pretty like reduced. And then they tell you like what each of those branches of government does. And it's very reductive about what each of those parts of the government really does. But they have to do it that way so that you can learn it. Like, and then they build on, and as you get older, you add on more and more information. Now imagine, obviously, most characters are adults and have a fully like reasonable functioning understanding of their world that these players are jumping into with no knowledge. Like they didn't grow up here, but they need to have enough knowledge that it's as if they grew up there. So making your government like, or like whatever political systems or governmental factions or religious factions or whatever in your world, like nuanced, sure, but when you're trying to explain it to characters, you need to be able to explain it at that, this is a kindergartner learning this for the first time level of information. And obviously you can start stacking information and adding nuance as you go, but you need to be able to pitch it in a sentence or two, like the big things. World has 24-hour days, follows Japanese character. Yeah, 72 micro seasons. Yeah, this sounds like it's very difficult to remember, which is very fun to build, I'm sure. 24 solar systems. Yeah, that's a lot. Like, I guarantee I always name my days of the week in my D&D worlds, and I never remember what they are, and I never end up telling my players what they are because it doesn't end up being remembered. It's, oh wait, we can auto change the color of the walls. Huge discovery. Look at this party. Okay, so we are gonna do this. It's gonna be okay. Let me see if I can do the same thing with the floor. Let me build just like a square. And then if I select this, I guess I have to like select it. Yeah, great. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna delete that and that wall. I don't need this wall. I am gonna build them as separate tools because otherwise it's gonna get confusing. So we're gonna build a storefront, a basic storefront. I have a lot more space than I need here because I'm gonna move stuff around. Let's just block some stuff out. I want to build a basic wooden storefront, so I'm going to put this down to just a nice average warm wood color, nice brown, right about there. And let's just start outlining some stuff that we can build in. So a typical storefront in a lot of businesses, when I'm thinking of like my D&D worlds, there's always like the front area of the shop. I'm just going to make it big for now. There's a front area of the shop, which has like the majority of the product. And then there's always a back area of the shop, which might be bigger or smaller depending on what they sell. In the back area, there might be some kind of office. There's probably a work area or storage area. And then sometimes there might be like an upstairs area, depending on, what kind of shop you're in. So I think that would make sense as like a basic build to have the front part of the shop, the back part of the shop. I can't decide if I prefer my beveled corners or unbeveled. I feel like I prefer a beveled corner. Maybe not. It's kind of nice with the nice square edges. So let's look for a shop. A small shop front, like a small storefront. This could even be like multiple buildings wedged together. A small storefront, I feel like would be, I'm looking at the room I'm in. This room is about 10 feet across, which is not big enough for a D&D map. I think at least 4 squares for like a small one. This would be a very small storefront though. I want to say a 30 feet across as like a small storefront. That would be one round of combat. You can run from one side to the other. And it's also going to have clutter in it because it's a storefront. I'm going to assume this storefront is built kind of vertically back. The storefront would be, I guess there'd be a couple different versions. There'd be some where like the back room is bigger, some where the back room is smaller. Oh yeah, I love using it. I have a calendar website. It's like a fantasycalendar.net or .com. That is great for building it. I actually built one for one of my worlds. I rarely look at it because I feel like players rarely care about the day of the week. They may care about like, what's the weather like or when's the next upcoming holiday? And I think that's like the information I use the most frequently when DMing, is giving people context for major world shifts that are happening. Like, oh, it's the end of fall, and like setting tone. Or when's the next full moon? That's a huge one, especially when you're dealing with a lot of lycanthropy, which I have on occasion dealt with some lycanthropy. I'm going to say storefront. That's a small storefront. I am okay with that for now. I'm really playing. There's going to be a lot of experimentation going on while I build this. Oof. So it's going to be an unimportant. Oh, it isn't going to be an unimportant thing. Yeah, if it's important to your world, use it. I just know that for me personally, whenever I start, whenever I get to that level of world building, I'm doing it because I like it, not because it's going to come up very much. But if it's important to your campaign, it's important to your campaign. I feel like this is as small as I want to go for the front of the store. And then for the back of the store, maybe just like an equivalent size. I'm really puzzling on this one because I'm trying to think of how as I said, the balance of like how complicated versus how specific versus general to make this. I think the idea of having an office is a good idea, like a little mobile office area. I think that might be the basic footprint though. I think this is like, let's do an experiment. Let's make this as basic as we can and it still looks like a shop. So we've got this, we'd have, the door in, door to the back room. There doesn't even have to be a back entrance. So we don't need any more doors than 2. We need to have 2 doors. We need to have like a desk in the front. or let me look up table. This is a really great, I love this one for a storefront because it's clearly what that is meant to be, is like a storefront table area. But it looks like a counter almost, but I think it's too big for this small store. So let's see if we have, I like the idea of there being like maybe this one. I got some space behind it. There would have to be some sort of counter space, obviously. Maybe. Yeah, maybe that, and then I almost feel like, ooh, maybe that's better. So like that, and then, hi, hello, hi Synthenite, welcome to the stream. I've been doing good. How have you been doing? Let's turn this way. Well, you know, here's the thing though. A counter for a shop would be, what's it called, wider on the side. Let's turn off snapping. I don't like that being there, but that's fine for now. There's a basic counter, there'd be some display space, there'd probably be a smaller space back here, and the door leading to the back room. There'd be a desk back here. Nope, because this is the office. There'd be a chair. I like the idea of it's an office chair, so it's maybe a little bit nicer, nothing too fancy, but indicating that this is like, you know, the person who works here a lot sits there a lot. So it'd be a little bit nicer than just nothing else. Ooh, that's a little too fancy. Honestly, maybe I'll go with a little armchair, because that armchair isn't too poofy. Or maybe I'll go and grab my prefabricated. Nice, you're enjoying a nice public holiday? That's lovely. I'm glad you're having a nice time. Thanks for spending it with us. We appreciate you being here. Let's see. Oh, it's not here. I wonder where they keep going. Maybe I'll just grab a chair. Let's grab square chair. That guy. Under. Great. So there'd be that, there'd be this, there'd obviously be a bunch of display cases, but that's going to start getting more specific, so I don't want to add that in yet. There'd be probably a table back here, or a work table. $500 NPCs is too many NPCs. I know you're having fun building. If you're having fun building, continue on with what you're doing, but be aware, don't wait to start playing until you finish all this, because 500, I don't know if I have 500 NPCs that I would touch an entire campaign. Like, in an entire because again, I don't know if I could sit here and name 500 people that I know personally in my real life. I'm sure there are, it'd take a long time, but remembering a bunch of important set aside knowing how many important details I know about each of them, outside of like maybe a name and being like, oh, that's that person I met there. So keep that in mind. Like, your players, that's a lot of information. So if you're enjoying building it, Godspeed and keep building. But if you're doing it because you think you need to have that information to play, you probably don't. You probably are not going to be needing that level of detail to have a fully fleshed out world and have your players enjoy themselves. Personal feelings on that. That's, my personal opinion on that. Little work table back there. There'd be some storage shelves. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a really basic shop space. This is tricky because I want to add stuff on. Well, if you want to make a whole campaign in the town, go for it. Absolutely, enjoy yourself. I just know that, like, there's a lot of stories of, I know so many people who wait to start playing because they don't think their world is perfect yet. And I'm like, it's fine. You can start playing. Don't wait. You probably will throw half of this away as soon as your characters come in contact with it. There'd be some windows and such. Gosh, this is very difficult because shops are so specific. Let me put on a floor. That will make me feel better. It'll make me feel like I've accomplished something if there's a floor. Just a basic little wooden floor. Let's do this one. That looks so bad. It hurts my eyes. Let's grab this one. That still hurts my eyes. Oh, God. Okay, let me take it out of this horrible gray color. Warm it up. I feel like I'm in The Shining. What is happening? Why are all of these so difficult to work with? Let's try this one. What is happening right now? Maybe this guy? Maybe I just don't use tile I don't use these wooden, wood slats very often. That's better. Okay. I feel like I want to change it slightly. More important, yes, branching out less details. I think that's a great way. Because of the hidden hour. Because it's 25 hours, one of them they don't know. This sounds like fascinating world building, but my goodness, it is not my speed. That's too much. You're gonna spend so long building all that, and I would never remember half of it. Okay, that looks like a nice basic workspace. I would put some shelves up. Because I feel like, most basic. Honestly, that looks really nice right there. Don't fight it, just put it on there. Because this is like the display cases. I think a storefront is probably going to have windows on the front. So I don't think I would fill it in fully, but maybe like that, and then putting a bookshelf on the back. Because then it's like I can just describe what's on each page. I like the spiderweb idea. That feels very like manageable. Does this make sense what I'm doing here? I don't think it does. Let me grab this guy again. Shrink it down. Okay, and then if I move this, undo. Well, that's the problem. All this stuff is on the same layer. I want this, let's put that below water. Yeah, that's a good spot for that. Let's turn off the below watered layer. I don't want below water is the only layer I don't want. That looks nice. Okay, and then I'm gonna put I'm gonna grab some windows, portal tool. there'd be some nice windows on the front of this building. They're going to allow light. I'm going to turn on snapping again. That doesn't look great that way. Maybe that would be better. No, that's like a reinforced window. This is like a shop window. Then I'm going to turn off snapping. I need to shift this a little bit. I'm struggling. I want to make sure this fits properly. Pretty close. Come on. The intense concentration of placing windows. I don't like how that, I like how the other one like comes all the way up to the wall, or all the way up to the side there. But it won't. Turn up snap. No, turn off snap. Doesn't like it. It does not like how that's working. Let me grab it again. I wonder how far I can bring it over. Wow, that really doesn't want to be symmetrical, does it? Wonder if there's a way to do this with the wall tool, maybe. No. Let's delete, delete, delete. Well, that's symmetrical there. If you're hearing any of that chaos in the background, they're rehearsing for a comedy show. So even though it sounds a little scary, I'm sure it's hilarious. Madness and repetition. I do not think I should be trying to do that. It is not working for me. What if I get rid of that for a second here? Delete all these windows. Let's do some snapping. This is the level of detail orientation that is why it's nice for me to have pre-built maps, because otherwise I'll spend for freaking ever figuring this out. That's not bad. What happens if I just put a door on that? Just grab this door. And I'd have to delete one of them. But I guess I could just delete it at the moment and add a door on, because that's like changing the shape of the thing. So let's delete this guy and say that that's a door. Or actually, yeah, no, let's take this guy, we'll put a door on. Exactly, that's the point. I want a shop map for life. So I'm hoping it like makes sense. But I'm not sure if, right, because I can just shift it and then put the door, undo, what just happened? Then I can grab this. Oh, wait, did it just like automatically change what the portal was? I think it did. So that means I can just put like all of them as windows and then change one to a door when I'm like actually building it. Oh, wow, that makes it way better. So like I can take this, I can go like that and be like, I actually want it to be a door, and then go like this. Amazing. Huge. Okay, and then I can change it to block light, and now like that door blocks light. I think it would just have windows on the storefront because I don't want to be too fancy. There'd probably be some other display here, but I don't know what that would be. I think that would be the thing that I like add in as I go. I really like those general shelving units. I now just need to kind of figure out the back. At least I need to figure out the back enough. So I think there would definitely be shelves around the walls. So let's grab another one of these guys. Turn off snapping so I can position it correctly. And I'll grab another one. I don't like that it's different. Oh, well, that's better. Great. And then I do think I want this office to be a separate space. So I'm going to do this. Nope, I just want that. And then I'm going to snap. Snap, turn on snapping. The layer of liches must be very specific and and that's what I was like, I think that's the thing is like, for me, being able to build like a basic world or like a basic design, it's all about being like, hey, this is for those maps that aren't going to be a big key encounter. This encounter is just for like a shop that you randomly encounter. So you want there to be, I don't like the idea of it being that large. That's too big. But maybe it's like this. Nah, I'll put it like that. I mean, I guess I can just, depending on the shop, I can resize it. But like a big key location encounter, obviously I would build from scratch to make it special. I wouldn't want to like cheat my characters of like a cool custom map. I'm just trying to save myself time on, you know, the smaller maps that don't need to be anything special. They just need to be a shop. There's method to what I'm doing right now. I know it looks like madness. There we go. That looks better. I'll add a door back on. And then I'll add a door here. And then I'll sort of shove this desk into a corner because this guy's working long hours. And then you can soup that up with a couple other details. You could obviously turn the desk so it's facing. I might put another chair in there because I feel like, you know, it's an office. They might be taking like an employee in for a meeting or like a client in for a meeting. So I think it would make sense for there to be 2 chairs in there. Put that one right there just to have, just in case. And I'm going to do my little pillow trick. And I will make it bright red so I know that it is color changing. Over. Put it on top of this so that it looks like there's a little poof on the chair. I'll turn off this shadow because the poof doesn't need a shadow. Great. So that one's got like a nice poof, the other one doesn't. You know what? Actually, they'll both have a poof because it's easier to remove them than add them on in a pinch. But obviously, if I wanted it to be like a less fancy shop, I would just remove one of them. I actually have not been following very closely news from Gen Con. I am waiting for a report back from Johnny, who actually went, and it looks like he was having a great time. So I will know more once he gets back. But I have not listened too much to Gen Con. I know that there was some buzz about a D&D book coming out. Well, several D&D books coming out, but I know there was buzz about the anthology about giants, and they realized that there was some like AI art in it, and I remember I heard about that, but I haven't heard much else. And I actually heard that from Johnny, following him online. I want a stool, like a little workbench under, shadow on, just a little work stool. I think there'd be like some more storage. Everyone needs a good crate in their workspace. So I'll just put a couple crates in the corner here. And then over. Just like that. You know what? Actually, maybe I'll do that as a colorable item because that's sometimes nice. Actually, I'll do it like this. And then if I wanted to put items in it, I could, which is easier. Obviously, I could add in tools. I could add like a coat rack there. This is a nice little basic shop. I could add something else here that is like a rack of things. A table. You know, let me actually grab another table to put in the center there. Yeah, I like that. I'll put that kind of in the middle of the room. That could have another display on it. And that is also colorable. But that is a decent little basic shop front. And obviously it's lacking a lot of detail, but I could add stuff on really easily. Yes, Glory of the Giants, that's what I had heard about. They released a statement saying that they were unaware of it and have addressed things with the artists to, hopefully they're not, you know, never going to use that again, and like clarified their terms that artists are expected to create original art, which is good and important. Got to use original art. Oops. Spilled some water. Okay, so that's like the basics of the interior of the shop. I want to do some exterior stuff. I'm also realizing I built this whole thing very close to the side of the map, so I might shift the exterior of the map as I'm going. But let me go ahead and grab some like just plants. Oop, that's not what I wanted. What's happening? All plant. What's happening here? Why is no plants coming up? There we go. Because I think it'd be nice to have some little like plant boxes out front that you could easily sub out. Also, I like these because you can change the color on them really easily. Maybe stone though? No, I definitely like the wooden ones better. We'll keep that color. I think I'll shrink it down to just 1.1, you know, regular one size font. Turn off the snapping. Underneath the window. Again, easier to remove than to add. Flip it the other way so it looks a little bit more. You know, like it's not the exact same flower box. Copy and paste it a million times. Great. So we got that little storefront. What's some other work we do? Now, I don't want to add anything too much around the sides because I don't know if it would be flanked on either side by other buildings or if it would be a lone storefront. But I will go ahead and build in some basic terrain. So I think I'm going to stay with my dirt for my road here, which is all dirt. So let's go ahead and change that to some grass. Just for now. I'll probably change that to something else. And this is coming up to the storefront here. And the road is going this way. And the road would probably extend up both sides of the building, either as an alley or otherwise. Extending this way and that way. Another thing that would be interesting is actually to put all of these little basic shops on one row of like one street, so that I can adjust, I can just say like, oh, we're in this shop today, but they're all next to each other. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what else could I do with this to make it custom. I guess I can incorporate some of that like rocky terrain, oops, to texturize that ground a little bit. Don't want it that intense, kind of messing with what we were doing before. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna mess with my textures like I did last time, but I kind of want to pause on that. That's like enough of a storefront. I do wonder about adding like a back entrance or something, but this shop doesn't, based on the appearance of this shop, I don't think it would necessarily need to have deliveries come through the back. It doesn't look like they'd be sent, like each of those crates could easily be delivered to the front of the store. So that took about a little bit of time. Let's try and do a much bigger storefront that maybe has some of those additional things. So I'm going to actually go ahead and see if I can just copy and paste, try and copy and paste the whole building and see how that works. Copy, paste. Nice. Okay, that mainly worked apart from the walls. Let's snap it. So I'll have to, there we go. I'll just have to like snap all these things into place. But also probably gonna change it. So now let's try and make this a much bigger storefront. I'm also gonna go ahead and move this whole thing kind of over, just so we have a little bit more room to work with. A much bigger storefront. So I would imagine this would be something that could easily be changed into like a blacksmithy, because like, well, that would be like an open floor plan. So that'd be a different design too. So let's just try something that's just a bigger storefront. So double-sized. Was it, if this was like 60, I like the depth of it, but I think I just want to make it wider. So that's 6. Let's make it 12. Let's make it an extremely, it's counting along the bottom for me there, which is great. Back to there. Oop, you know what? I don't want to use the building tool though, because that means it'll give me a floor that I don't want. That's 6, that's 10, and then that's 12. Up to here, over. Yeah, so that's a much larger footprint we're going to be working with. We can take our pattern tool, edit points, fill in the whole floor. Wow. Okay, so another cool thing we could add on to one of these, like as an adaption, would be doing like an upstairs, right? If they live above the shop, that'd be an easy thing to like add on a staircase somewhere, which I will mess with in a minute. But I like the idea of, this is just same thing, larger storefront. So let's go ahead and add on our windows, because we're obviously going to have our windows at the front. I think I will continue playing with this off stream, because this is also just sincerely something I will use. Go ahead. They're allowing light. Great. Big, nice storefront here. Covered in windows. Gorgeous. I might put some windows on the sides too. Maybe not. Maybe not for now. That's easy enough to add at another time. Okay, so we have a huge front room. I kind of like the idea of keeping the proportions the same, where it's like, you know, the front and back are splitting like this. Because it's a bigger front room, I think we can do, oops. Let's get that bigger shelf. I also think, I know I didn't use it here. I kind of want to change the front room shelves to be fancier because they're customer facing. So I think they should look different than the storage shelves in back. Yeah, honestly, just like that. That's all I needed to do. It doesn't look great with it snapping like that. Oop, mic fell over. Sorry about that. It's very oddly balanced because I am trying to have it be as close to me as possible. Okay. And I wonder if there's another shelf that's got the fancy little corners, but that is flat. I don't think there is. You know, I could grab one of these and like put it underneath, but at what cost, you know? Not too much cost. Seems like it worked pretty well. Yeah, I think that's worth it to do. And it just kind of adds it, it makes it look like there's a second layer of the bookshelf, so it doesn't bother me. Okay, so let's put this in the back room because we're gonna have more storage space in the back room. Let's zoom out. Let's get some objects. Shelf. And now I just want my fancy front room shelves. I'm gonna try and just do a similar layout, honestly, because I was really happy with that. Now we can't do that shelf there, so we're gonna have to figure that out. I will figure that out. Maybe this one will just have to have the long bookshelves like this. Nice, looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and add in that wall since I do think I'm gonna keep that same wall in there. Let's go ahead and snap it. Okay. Turning off snapping again. I'll be interested to see, like, I'm building these on the theory that I think this is a map I would use. But who knows? I'm interested to see whether I actually end up using these maps or if I end up, you know, finding that they, not necessarily a waste of time to build. I always think it's important to like experiment with map building and try and build cool things. But I'm interested to see if this will, if I have a couple opportunities where I use this or if it, you know, isn't something I use too often. Now we're definitely going to give this one the nice big desk, like the big rotation desk, because we got the space for it. I'm going to put it, I think I'm going to put it in the same spot, maybe like right here. And I like the idea of there just being, again, just some display tables. So I'm just gonna copy and paste those. Oop. Undo. Let's move this down. Oh, it's on the right layer. Let's turn off that layer. I just turned you off. Okay. There we go. So we've got the little display tables out with different wares upon them. Maybe this can be slightly, what if this is like here? And then we'll take another shelf here because we have more room on this side. And does it fit another fancy shelf? It kind of does. I wonder if there would be an option for like guests to come to the back room though with this one. I don't know. I'll put that there for now. Let's move this to back. I assume there's some sort of like, it lifts on the latch on the side and you can get out around the back of it. Could also put even some stuff behind that. So let's grab some more shelves because I feel like in a lot of you know, shops, there's shelves of things behind the counter too. Yeah, so let's have this like running along the back here. This thing's just got shelves all over the place. Move this to the front. And we'll put a big like swing-in door back there. It's got its 2 displays. Yeah, this is great. I like this a lot. It feels like a huge storefront. Maybe that goes a little bit more like there, because these tables are kind of big. Maybe we take one, make it a little bit smaller. Gosh, I wish it was not crooked. There we go. Yeah, I like that. So we've got 2 bigger tables, one or 2 smaller tables here. Undo, copy, paste. I'm gonna delete that one. And then we'll go ahead and put some flower pots on the front. This whole thing and move it down here. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the whole thing just to fill up this whole front area. Let me shift that over a little bit. Okay. Copy paste. Don't need all of this. And then we're going to put a big double wide door, I think, right at the center of this shop, right here. So I'm going to get rid of that one and that one. And I'm going to turn this into like a big swinging door. Ah, amazing. And then I'm going to put another door back here. That is a big swinging door that leads to the back of the shop. I'm so happy that that portal tool has the replace function, because it looks so good. It looks so good when it works. Let's turn that to snapping. Okay. Turn snapping off. It's a delicate dance, snapping. When you need it, when you don't need it. Kind of want to turn, I don't know if I want to turn snapping off, because it starts getting funky with that stuff when you turn snap, like the doors start getting really hard to line up properly. But that looks great for the front of the store. I think because it is such a big, there's probably no sitting in the front of the store, I would imagine. They wouldn't have a stool up there. Okay, so now we've got a couple other options here. This is a much bigger store, so maybe there's more than one. There's like a big workspace. I feel like there could be like a side entrance where people bring in goods. But let's keep the setup generally the same, where we've got this going on. And okay, well, here's a question. What side do the goods come in on? Where's the office? think we're going to put an office here. And we'll have probably 2 offices actually. And I think what we'll do is we're going to take, let me move this out of here for a second. And then we'll have a side entrance. Let's take another portal tool. We'll take another one of these guys. We'll turn on snapping. So that's where like goods can come in from the side. Let's move that aside for a second. Let's get this table over here. Let's get this over here. Let's add in our walls for our offices. So we have more space for the offices now. So I think adding in like a whole sectioned off area makes sense. Like that's the office space over here. You know what though? If we did it like this and we put the small office at the back here, and then we're gonna make this one the bigger office. Oop. And wait. Because I like the idea of there being like a staircase somewhere in here. Edit points. Gotta get that edit points. Yeah, maybe it's just like a slightly bigger office. So it's really just like that. You know, he's got a little bit more room. Maybe he's got a wardrobe. We'll figure that out in a second. And then all of this is the workspace. I like that one exactly how it's set up. Let's set this one up. Maybe it's a little bit more. Undo. This one I'm going to grab a cushy armchair for because it's a fancier place, fancier office. That might be too big though. My struggle continues. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, armchair. Let's grab a different desk because we wouldn't want the same desk in both offices. That just makes it too obvious that, you know, it's the same desk. So let's take this one. Or let's give this clerk because this one seems like, you know, that. I'll give this guy the smaller desk because he's got the smaller office. Okay, and then this guy's got the slightly bigger desk. We'll put this to front. We'll figure out the layout of that in a second because I kind of want to look at this part of the room first. These are great. This is such a great like general shop layout because the great thing is I could come in here and be like, oh, it's a map shop, and then grab like a globe and put it on the display table and grab some like random papers and put them around, and it automatically will look like that, and I can like swap out the colors. It's honestly super helpful. I think this is going to be great. Okay, so we've got this thing over here. If that's like the storage area, I feel like the work area would be more this way. All our crates and storage is going to be over here. Let's make that like twice as big. And then we would have a little office door on both of these. Let's go ahead and snap that. Snap that. All on the floor, snap that. I'll put that one right there. I kind of wonder if there would be like a hallway separating here, but I don't think so. This more lays out this way, so I like the idea of it being more like this. And we'll have maybe 2 work tables because it's a bigger place. We got more space to work. This reminds me of when I worked in a prop shop for a very long time, because we would have like these huge high top tables and there'd be like stools around them that we'd always be like working on the different props for the shows for. So I love the idea of there being stuff like that. I wonder about adding another bookshelf. I might not be able to do one of these angled ones, so let's just look at shelf. The great thing about a shelf is that you can imply whatever you want to be on the shelf. So you don't have to, you know, don't have to pick a certain thing. I want there to be like a work table on the side here. Like what? Oh, that one's great. I love doing these guys stacked one on top of each other. So I take this, yeah, I guess just like that. And then I take this other one and I put it on top, and it looks like a big cabinet kind of sitting there, and you can deck it with whatever you want on top, which is really useful. Slide that guy out from the wall. Yeah, honestly, that's kind of what I want here. I don't know how much else I need to add to this. I might shift these guys slightly different angles, because I feel like that takes up the space a little bit better. Copy paste, add a couple extra stools because there'd be more workers here. Is it weird to have this like this though? I feel like it might be better in the center of the room where I had it. It's just like a little cramped on the one side. But I guess it's not too bad. Awesome. Okay, do I need anything else in there? Not really. This one technically has more shelf space, but it doesn't have some of the other stuff. You know, if I did flop the side where these offices are, I could put another corner shelf here, and I kind of like that. I know the property value, I mean, this would be a very well-to-do shop, to be fair. Like, this would be a shop that's doing very well for itself, which is why I'm like, it would have multiple employees. Also, I love I just like the way these shelves are designed, because I'm like, that could be books, but it also could just be like tools and crap on the shelf, which is great. I think I am going to flip-flop these offices so I can fit another, fit a better bookshelf there. Edit points. Edit points. Put it right. Snap. I want that snapping. Oh, I haven't finished the boss's office. That's the thing I need to do. I don't know what's going on with that wall there. It does not like these doors for some reason. Let me just reapply the doors. Got it. Move these things out. Copy and paste these guys down here. Undo. Okay. Wow, this guy is there like something weird with this wall that I'm missing? Oh, let me get rid of that. There we go. There was like a extra point that didn't need to be there that was messing it up. So now I can take this, delete it, and I can grab a better shelf. And does that one fit? Oh, it almost doesn't. It doesn't quite fit. But I could do this little chunky bookshelf and one of these guys. That works. Okay. Great. Okay. That now looks like a functioning shop. I'm gonna make this look a little bit more set up for this boss who uses this office. I feel like they, you know, a big move is to like put the office, the chair right in the, you know, right in the center of the room. Like that. And there'd probably be some bookshelves in there. So I'm gonna grab him another shelf, or, you know, I'll grab them another shelf to put in here. And they've got a little fancy bookshelf. Right there. I don't like the idea of it being on both sides. But let's also grab them a cabinet. Maybe they've got some like work clothes. What is happening? Why doesn't it want me to see what I'm looking at? Let me look for my storage. Storage. Okay, so let's get this guy. Yeah, let's grab this cabinet and we'll have it have the red. And maybe that's actually over here on the side and then the bookshelf is elsewhere. No, I think it would be by the door because that's where he keeps like a jacket or something for fancy meetings. Ooh, you know what? Here we go. We'll put this like this. That might be too cramped. It looks so cramped by that little desk. I think it makes sense that you'd like come in and the chair would be like at your back though. Or like you'd walk up behind the chair that you would sit in as an employee. Maybe it's just like that, and then this is kind of that way. It's a small office. I mean, this is still like, he's not like this person isn't like a wealthy noble. They just own a shop. You can kind of cheat that, embed that back in the wall. And then when I was like actually designing it, I could add like a personal item here or something to make the office a little bit more specific. But that's a nice little room. And I could put like a chair, a carpet in there. Awesome. Okay, well, I've got this. I would go ahead and lay in that extra terrain. Obviously, more dirt around the side here. There'd definitely be like a path leading to the back door where, you know, people are coming to bring up goods, and the road would continue on. Yeah, it's pretty good actually. I'm really happy with how these have turned out. We've made a lot of maps today. I think this is the most maps we've made in a single, you know, session of Map Maven yet. And I'm really excited because each of these maps has so much functionality for use. Like today I made maybe 6 or 7 maps or like locations. This is technically incomplete, but this is 2 separate locations, 2 separate maps potentially. And each of those maps in themselves could possibly have unlimited uses in game because they are meant to be malleable. They're meant to be these modular maps you can use over and over and over again. So doing the math, which is all theoretical because I don't know exactly how many times I use it, I think I've built more maps today than I have in the last couple months, potentially, just in terms of how many times they can be reused, which is very exciting to think that, hey, I'm about to go into a town. I already have a template for a pretty decent little shop front already. And I could play around and do a couple different displays. So this is obviously a very vertical display. I could change it so that the storefront is shifted. It's more horizontal. I definitely want to do a draft of this where I input a staircase on both of these so that, and then build an upper level that matches these, so I can easily have like the upper level available if I wanted to do an upper level store. I would highly recommend doing something like this for yourself as a DM and having these functional modular maps available to you, because I guarantee your players are going to go something you don't expect. I guarantee they're going to start a fight somewhere you don't expect. And just having the peace of mind to know that if they decide to start a fight in a location you aren't expecting, I feel like knowing that I have these maps ready, I'm more willing to let those catastrophic failures or risky choices play out because I don't have to worry about, oh, I don't have a map for that. I'm not ready for that encounter because I can just say, hey, give me a 10-minute break. I'm going to prep the map and we'll be back and jump right in. And it'll be a map on quality with what we've used for the prepared battle maps, our big encounter maps that I knew were coming. I'll already be ready. I'm actually really excited about this. I think this is going to help me GMing moving forward. And I really hope these get some good use because I'm really happy with the work I've done today. I think they're going to help a lot. Yeah. So I definitely had a good time today. It was very productive for me. I hope you had a good time and you enjoyed being with us. If you did, please consider subscribing to Talking XP, and you can subscribe on Twitch and YouTube. You can join our Discord and share us with your friends. You can find us on social media at Talking XP, I believe, on Threads, on Instagram, on everything. You can find me as at Ellen_Boner or at Ellen Boner on Instagram. That is mainly what I'm going to be updating. So if you're looking for updates on Map Maven when we're playing, follow me there. I always post when I'm going to be going on. We also have an ongoing Curse of Strahd game live at 7:30 p.m. Pacific on Mondays. You can catch it as a podcast. Thanks. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was really nice to chat with you. See you next time. I'll be on the Curse of Strahd game as well. I play a morally grey artificer named Beatrice LeBeau. And of course, Map Maven will be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And next week, we're going to be back in Photoshop. And I think I might try and do something similar where we're doing a back to basics, building something to start from for your gaming. So you can always have like a solid road, thoroughfare, or city map to build from. So I hope to see you all there. If not, and until then, if not, have a great time. I'll see you somewhere, I'm sure, whenever you can be back. But until then, please travel safe and bring a map so you don't get lost. Goodbye, everyone. Good night.